This week's video is about adding a new ball of yarn. I've seen many ways to do it, and I know everyone has their own way of doing it, and I thought I would share the way that I like to do it. I think it's easy, I think it's less clumsy, and I think it keeps you from making mistakes by knitting with the tail instead of the new yarn. So this is what I do. Here's the tail of my old yarn, okay? Here is the tail of my new yarn. If you are someone that throws or you use your working yarn in your right hand, this is my suggestion. I take the two tails and I make sure that the tail of my new yarn is long enough to weave in. I grab it with my non-working hand. So for instance, I like to grab my yarn if I'm not using it by wrapping it around my pinky once, okay? You could also just grab it, whichever you like. I'm gonna use the pinky method, okay? So here it is. For those of you that throw, so you take it and just knit it as usual. When you hold both tails in the other hand, then this first stitch doesn't get so loose. I knit 4 stitches. Then I drop this tails, both tails, and keep knitting. Okay, for us continental knitters, that means we hold our yarn, our working yarn, in our our left hand. You're going to take, we've got this tail here. We've got the tail of the new yarn. I take them, I hold them in my non-working yarn hand, do my little pinky wrap, grab the new one, the new yarn, and I take it and I work 4 stitches, drop the tails, and keep going. Okay, but what if I'm working my yarn and I'm like, oh, I think I've got enough. I can make to the end. So away I go. And I'm headed to the end. And I get there. Uh-oh, I'm playing yarn chicken. But I'm still gonna try because I'm almost there. And I get to almost the end. And then, dang it, I don't have enough. So I want to leave a long enough tail to weave it in. I would even back it out 1 stitch, so I have just a little bit more length. I take the tail of my new working yarn, the yarn that I am connecting, and I put that tail in my non-working hand and just hold it next to my needles. I take the new working yarn, the working side, plus the tail of the old yarn, and I knit 1 stitch using them both. Then I drop all my tails and keep working. Okay, now if you're a continental knitter, again like me, this is how I do it. I take the tail of the new yarn and I hold it in my non-working hand, which is my right hand. I hold both of them together in my left hand. I knit 1 stitch with both strands, drop the tail of the new and keep working till the end. Okay, now the thing you have to remember is that when you're going back the other way, and that's why it's nice to be able to change the yarn on the right side, you can see where the 2 stitches are right here, okay, because the tails are showing us. And it's okay to give these tails a tug, okay? So when I go back, and you just purl however you do it, I'm going to do it my way. Okay, here I am. I'm to the point where I need to knit both of these together. Then when I go in to make my next stitch, I pause, I give my tails a little tug, just a little one, right, so that they're not hanging out, the stitch isn't hanging out, and I go to the end. Okay, so that's my tips for joining yarn. You may have a better way. If so, please share it. If not, I hope this helps. Have a great week.